We closed last week with the experience of the silent Brahman, the one by whom all live, who lives by none. A silent cause, occult, impenetrable, infinite, eternal, unthinkable, alone. But I mentioned last week that this is not the final or supreme experience. There is further experience, and we shall see that beginning today. As usual, I will read about a page and a half, and then we'll go back and look in detail at each sentence. A stillness, absolute, incommunicable, meets the sheer self-discovery of the soul. A wall of stillness shuts it from the world. A gulf of stillness swallows up the sense and makes unreal all that mind has known, all that the laboring senses still would weave, prolonging an imaged unreality. Self's vast spiritual silence occupies space. Only the inconceivable is left, only the nameless, without space and time. Abolished is the burdening need of life. Thought falls from us. We cease from joy and grief. The ego is dead. We are freed from being and care. We have done with birth and death and work and fate. O soul, it is too early to rejoice. Thou hast reached the boundless silence of the self. Thou hast leaped into a glad divine abyss. But where hast thou thrown self's mission and self's power? On what dead bank on the Eternal's road? One was within thee who was self and world. What hast thou done for his purpose in the stars? Escape brings not the victory and the crown. Something thou camest to do from the unknown, but nothing is finished, and the world goes on, because only half God's cosmic work is done. Only the everlasting No has neared and stared into thy eyes and killed thy heart. But where is the lover's everlasting yes, and immortality in the secret heart, the voice that chants to the Creator fire, the symbol Om, the great assenting word, the bridge between the rapture and the calm, the passion and the beauty of the bride, the chamber where the glorious enemies kiss, the smile that saves, the golden peak of things. This too is truth at the mystic fount of life. A black veil has been lifted. We have seen the mighty shadow of the omniscient Lord. But who has lifted up the veil of light, and who has seen the body of the King? The mystery of God's birth and acts remains, leaving unbroken the last chapter's seal, unsolved the riddle of the unfinished play. The cosmic player laughs within his mask, and still the last inviolate secret hides behind the human glory of a form, behind the gold eidolon of a name. A large white line has figured as a goal, but far beyond the ineffable sun track's blaze. What seemed the source and end was a wide gate, a last bare step into eternity. I think we're reading this way, no? That Nargis, you'll start.
A stillness absolute, incommunicable, meets the sheer self-discovery of the soul. A wall of stillness shuts it from the world. A gulf of stillness swallows up the sense and makes unreal all that mind has known, all that the laboring senses still would read, prolonging an imaged unreality.
So this is another evocation of the experience that King Asvapati had, that we read about in the last session. It's an experience of an absolute stillness. No movement, nothing that the mind can grasp. It's incommunicable. Sri Aurobindo tries to give us, to communicate to us some sense of that experience, but until we have it, it's incommunicable. It can't be communicated. This is the experience that meets the sheer self-discovery of the soul, when the soul discovers its origin. Sheer means there's nothing else. There's only the soul discovering its own pure existence. So it experiences as if there's a wall of stillness, of silence, separating itself, separating the soul from the world around. It's as if a deep sea of stillness swallows up all the sense experiences, the experience of touch and sound and hearing. It's as if the soul is surrounded by this deep silence. And that stillness gives the soul, the consciousness, the feeling that everything that it has known, everything that the mind has been aware of, everything that the senses would like to go on experiencing, that all that is unreal. Those who have had this experience, they feel that everything is an illusion. Everything that has been real to them up to that point is the illusion. And this experience is the source of the metaphysical theory that all existence is an illusion. Everything is unreal, everything that the mind has known. Actually, we only know things through our mind. We feel things with our senses, but it's the mind that tells us that what this is, gives us an image of the world outside. And these senses, they are working all the time. They still, he says, they would weave, they would like to go on weaving this picture of the world. They would like it to continue, they would like to prolong it, to make it continue. But it's just an imaged unreality, something unreal, a picture. Sri Aurobindo says that when he had this experience, everything around him in the city seemed as if just flickering images on a screen, as if in a cinema. Back in those days, what the cinema was like in 1908. Would you read?
Self's vast spiritual silence occupies space. Only the inconceivable is left. Only the nameless without space and time. Abolished is the burdening need of life. Thought falls from us. We cease from joy and grief. The ego is dead. We are freed from being and care. We have done with birth and death and work and fate.
Thank you. Thank you. So this vast spiritual silence of pure self, just the sense of existence without anything added to it, no quality, just a vast spiritual silence occupies the whole of space. Nothing else is left, only the inconceivable, what the mind cannot conceive, can't get any idea of. We conceive an idea or an image, but there's something which is inconceivable, which the mind cannot grasp. Only that is left, the sense of a bare reality which can't be grasped or understood. only a being without a name, the nameless, without space and time. Perhaps the word without here is used in the sense of being the opposite of within. We say within, inside. Without sometimes can mean outside. So this nameless is beyond space and time. When we have that experience, all the needs of life, life always wants something. It needs something, it wants something. But all that is gone, it's just abolished, wiped out. Thought falls from us. There's no more thought. There are no more emotions. We cease from joy and grief. And the ego has disappeared. The sense of our small, limited individuality. The soul is vast, identified with the Supreme Self. The ego is dead. We are freed, we are liberated from even the sense of existence, from all care and anxiety. We have done with, we have finished with this whole business of birth and death and work and fate, destiny. You notice that he says we. This is a general experience. This is not just an experience that King Aswapati had. This is an experience which many mystics have spoken about, and potentially we can all have this experience. So that experience has been the goal of many yogas, of many spiritual paths. This is liberation. This is moksha. That's the goal. Sri Aurobindo says the first goal of all yoga. His yoga as well as all others. But now he's going to show us another step beyond that goal. Would you read, please, Bhavan?
Soul, it is too early to rejoice. Thou hast reached the boundless silence of the self. Thou hast leaped into a glad divine abyss. But where hast thou thrown self's mission and self's power?
Thank you. So it's as if somebody is speaking to us, or speaking to King Aswapati, and he's saying, well, it's a wonderful experience, but it's too early to rejoice, to feel that your whole work is done, to be happy. He says, thou. This is the second person singular in English. We very rarely use it. Usually we would say, you have, even if you're only speaking to one person. But in poetry, in literature, we come across this old form which is not normally now used in speech or even in writing. So somebody, some knowledge, some voice speaks to the soul and says, you have reached this boundless, limitless silence of the pure self. It's as if you have leaped into a glad, divine abyss, a deep place. An abyss, it's usually a negative word, to fall into the abyss, into a deep hole. But this is a glad, divine abyss. There's definitely something divine about it. There's a sense of delight and release, freedom. But where have you thrown away? You've left something behind. You've neglected something. What is the mission of the self? What is the power of the self? And that voice will explain what it means that self has a mission and a power. That comes in the next sentence, or after two sentences. Would you read, please, Mr. Brahma?
No. On what dead bank on the Eternal's road, one was within thee, who was self and world. What hast thou done for his purpose in the stars? Escape brings not the victory and the crown, something thou camest to do from the unknown, but nothing is finished and the world goes on, because only half God's cosmic work is done.
Thank you. So where have you thrown the mission and the power? On what dead bank on the Eternal's road? Some on the way, on the journey of the Eternal. It seems as if the power and the mission has just been left to die. You have reached this great height, but within you there was the one who was yourself, the individual self, and the self of the whole world. So now you've reached this point of moksha, this point of delivery. You can leave all that behind. You can feel as if it's all unreal. But what have you done on the way for the purpose of that one, his purpose in the stars, in this vast universe with all these suns which we see as stars? Actually, you took birth, you've been incarnated in the world of matter with a purpose. You came to do something. Your soul accepted to be individualized. It was there in the unknown. It came, it took on a name, a form. For a reason, you came to do something. But nothing is finished. And the world's just going on the way it's always been, because you have only done half of God's work in the universe. This release, this finding of the soul is a very, very important step, but it's still only half of God's work in the universe, in the cosmos. Prasanna.
Only the everlasting Lord has heard and stayed into thine eyes and filled my heart. But there is the lover's everlasting yes, and immortality in the secret heart, the voice that chants to the created fire, the symbol womb, the great accepting God.
You go on to the question mark?
The bridge between the rapture and the calm, the passion and the beauty of the bridge.
Of the bride.
Of the bride. The chamber where the glorious enemies is, the smile that saves the golden peak of things.
Thank you. These are very profoundly poetic, symbolic, suggestive lines, which it's difficult to put into any other words. But anyway, let's take them one by one and see what we can understand. That voice seems to say to King Asvapati, what's happened to you is that the everlasting, the eternal No has come close to you. As if there are two powers or two aspects to the Supreme. There's a negative No, which dissolves things, brings liberation, but there's also another side, the everlasting Yes, and you haven't experienced that yet. It's saying, seems to be saying, no? That everlasting No has come close to you, it's stared into your eyes, and that look of the everlasting No has as if killed all the emotions of the heart. There's nothing left. But what about the other side of things? What about that everlasting Yes of the lover who loves the cosmos, loves everything in the universe? What about that dream of immortality that is carried in the secret heart? What about that call, that voice, that aspiration that's always worshipping the creator fire, that energy which brings things into existence? That word, he says, is Om, the word that says yes to creation, the great assenting word. To assent is to say yes. This is a different spelling from ascent, meaning going up. This is assent with double S, and it means to say yes. There must be a bridge, there must be a connection between that calm, that stillness, that silence, and all the delight of the world. Isn't there a partner, the bride, with all her intensity and her beauty? There must be a place where the glorious enemies kiss, where the things that seemed opposite, opposed to each other, they come together and embrace and are one. What about that smile that saves everything, gives salvation to everything? The golden peak of things, the culmination of all this marvelous universe. Are we going to throw all these things away? Do we want to just be in this blank silence? Isn't there another side to things? Kyung, would you read?
This too is true. At the mystic fount of life, a black veil has been lifted. We have seen the mighty shadow of the omniscient Lord. But who has lifted up the veil of life? And who has seen the body of the King?
Thank you. So this everlasting yes and all these things that he's listed, he says all this is also truth at the very source of life. Why would life ever have existed if there weren't something like that? He says here we have come to this experience. A black veil has been lifted, the veil of ignorance. There's a kind of knowledge, of knowing. We have seen the mighty shadow of the omniscient Lord, the all-knowing Lord. In the yogic terminology, this says we have achieved the knowledge with a capital K. But there's another veil, the veil of light. The Upanishad tells us that if we follow after the knowledge alone, we're in an even greater darkness. So there's another veil to be lifted, the veil that shows us the body of the King, the veil of light. He's as if veiled in his own glory. Can we penetrate it, and can we become aware of the presence of the divine in everything, containing everything, as everything? Who has seen the body of the King? This whole universe is his body, but not until we see it like that. Would you like to read?
The mystery of God's birth and acts remains, even unbroken. The last chapter see unsolved the riddle of the unfinished plate. The cosmic player loves within his mask, and still the last inviolate secret hearts behind the human glory of a form, behind the gold adorn of a name.
Thank you. So there's this feeling that there's a mystery which still remains unsolved. If this is the goal, if this is the final experience, why has God been at all born into the world? Why has he been active in the world? That remains a mystery. And it's as if we're reading a story, and every time we come to a new chapter, we have to cut the pages as we used to have to do with old books. And the last chapter is still not opened up. We haven't opened the seal on the last chapter of this story that we're reading. Or it's like a play, very, very complicated play, and we don't know how it's going to work, a drama, we don't know how it's going to work out until the very last act, until the very last minute. So the play is unfinished. The riddle of how all this is going to be solved has not yet been revealed. And it's as if the actor, the one who is the actor, who's the actor and the play, he's playing out this drama and he's laughing at us. He's still there, hidden. The last inviolate secret, inviolate, that hasn't been touched, that hasn't been broken or revealed in any way. It's still hiding. It's hiding, he says, behind a form, the human glory of a form, and the gold eidolon of a name. Name and form go together. This word eidolon, it's a Greek word. It's the word from which we get our English word idol. An idol is a form of a deity to which we can give a name. So I'm not sure what Sri Aurobindo means by these last two lines, but there is this human form. We say that the human beings are made in the image of God. Perhaps there's some supreme form like that. There's some name. Each of us may have our own name for that supreme being. For me, the name that comes is, I say, the Lord. behind that there's still a mystery. Yuli?
Large white line has figured as a goal, but far beyond the ineffable sun tracks blaze. What seemed the first and end was a wide gate. The last bear stepped into eternity.
So it seems as if the goal, there's some borderline, a line of purity. That seems to have been the goal, what he was aiming for. But actually now he feels or he senses that this is actually a gate to something much more, far beyond that white line. The ineffable sun tracks blaze. The sun that represents all the light and energy, creative power of the divine being that can't be expressed. There seem to be tracks of the sun beyond this white line of silence that had seemed like the beginning and the end of everything, the singularity. But in fact, now it looks like it's a wide gate. Perhaps one can go one step further, a last bare step into eternity, infinity, beyond this manifestation, into another state of being. Danny, would you read?
An eye has opened upon timelessness. Infinity takes back the forms it gave. And through God's darkness, or his naked light, his million rays return into the sun. There is a zero sign at the supreme. Nature left nude, but still uncovers God.
Thank you. So in that original experience, an eye, a power of vision, has caught a glimpse of the timeless state, and it's as if infinity draws back into itself all the forms that have emerged from it, as if all these things have been generated by rays of light from that divine sun. It's as if they're all returning to their source, whether through the darkness, through the ignorance, or through the knowledge. They are all returning back into the sun. And then it looks like the Supreme is a vast zero, a nothingness, an emptiness, a void. Mother has said this is experience, that those who have stepped beyond this borderline of manifestation, they experience it first as a huge nothingness, because it has no connection at all with anything that the consciousness has known here, in the universe. So nature, who has created, who's given all this, if she's stripped completely naked, if everything is taken away, then the divine presence is revealed. Sheer self-discovery of the soul. But there's another side to this experience, or the next experience, Joel.
But in her grandiose nothingness, all is there. When her strong guards are torn away from us, the soul's ignorance is slain, but not the soul. The zero covers an immortal face.
Thank you. So nature left nude and still uncovers God, but then if the nature has become nothing but a magnificent nothingness, still everything is there potentially. And when the strong garbs of nature are torn away from us, garbs are coverings, robes. So if nature is stripped away from us, the soul's ignorance is killed, but not the soul itself. The soul remains. And that apparent zero, that nothingness, is covering a face. There's a being, a presence, something, a being that our soul can recognize and have a relationship with. Do you like to read, Mom?
High and black negation is not wrong. A whole teaching is not God's last word. Life's ultimate sense, the close of being called. The meaning of this great mysterious world.
Thank you. So this high and blank negation, this everlasting no, is not everything. A huge extinction, that everything that is a cosmic illusion and it all gets destroyed. Aurobindo says that's not God's last word. That's not the ultimate meaning of life. That's not the close of the course, the road of existence. Very, very often in Savitri, this word sense refers to our sense experiences, the experiences of the senses. But of course the word has another meaning in English. It means significance or meaning. And that's what it means here. That huge extinction is not the ultimate meaning of life. It's not the close, the goal of the road, the course of being. It's not the meaning of this great, mysterious world. This world is not random and chance. It has a meaning, and its meaning is not revealed in this extinction. Eve, would you read?
Yes. In absolute silence sleeps an absolute power. Awaking, it can wave the trance bound sound. And in the rain, it reveals the terrent sun. It can make the world a vessel of spirit's force. It can fashion in the clay God's perfect shape.
Thank you. So if we come to that absolute silence, sleeping in it is the absolute power of the Lord. And if that power wakes up, it can wake up the soul that is in this trance of silence and stillness. And it can reveal in the ray, in the individual soul, it can reveal the sun that is its parent, its source. And when that happens, That revelation shows that the world is a vessel, a container of the force of the Spirit. And that power can fashion in the clay, in our matter, in the matter of our bodies and the matter of the world. It can shape God's perfect shape. It can divinize matter. ADORATION.
Free the self is but one radiant space, here to fulfill himself was God's desire.
So these are two words that we can remember. Moksha is necessary to free the self, but it's not the last step. That's one radiant pace. It's a step which is full of light, full of glory in its own way. But there's another step here in the universe. To fulfill himself was God's desire, God's intention and wish when he started out on this whole adventure of involution and evolution, this adventure of manifestation, creation. So we just have time to read this first section together.
Can I ask a question?
So, yes?
On top of page 311, the word rapture.
Yes, the bridge between the rapture and the calm. These seem to be two divine things, no? Ecstasy and calm. So what is the connection between them? Is there a bridge? Here it says there must be a bridge. And he will show us. He will show us in the next section the golden bridge that connects the rapture and the calm. A stillness absolute, incommunicable, meets the sheer self-discovery of the soul. A wall of stillness shuts it from the world. A gulf of stillness swallows up the sense and makes unreal all that mind has known, all that the labouring senses still would weave, prolonging an imaged unreality. Self's vast spiritual silence occupies space. Only the inconceivable is left. Only the nameless without space and time. Abolished is the burdening need of life. Thought falls from us. We cease from joy and grief. The ego is dead. We are freed from being and care. We have done with birth and death and work and fate. O soul, it is too early to rejoice. Thou hast reached the boundless silence of the self. Thou hast leaped into a glad divine abyss. But where hast thou thrown self's mission and self's power? On what dead bank on the Eternal's road? One was within thee who was self and world. What hast thou done for his purpose in the stars? Escape brings not the victory and the crown. Something thou camest to do from the unknown, but nothing is finished, and the world goes on, because only half God's cosmic work is done. Only the everlasting No has neared and stared into thy eyes and killed thy heart. But where is the lover's everlasting yes, and immortality in the secret heart, the voice that chants to the Creator fire, the symbol Om, the great assenting word, the bridge between the rapture and the calm, the passion and the beauty of the bride, the chamber where the glorious enemies kiss, the smile that saves, the golden peak of things. This too is truth at the mystic fount of life. A black veil has been lifted. We have seen the mighty shadow of the omniscient Lord. But who has lifted up the veil of light, and who has seen the body of the King? The mystery of God's birth and acts remains, leaving unbroken the last chapter's seal, unsolved the riddle of the unfinished play. The cosmic player laughs within his mask, and still the last inviolate secret hides behind the human glory of a form, behind the gold eidolon of a name. A large white line has figured as a goal, but far beyond the ineffable sun track's blaze, what seemed the source and end was a wide gate, a last bare step into eternity. An eye has opened upon timelessness. Infinity takes back the forms it gave, and through God's darkness, or his naked light, his million rays return into the sun. There is a zero sign of the Supreme. Nature, left nude and still, uncovers God. But in her grandiose nothingness, all is there. When her strong garbs are torn away from us, the soul's ignorance is slain, but not the soul. The zero covers an immortal face. A high and blank negation is not all. A huge extinction is not God's last word, life's ultimate sense, the close of being's course, the meaning of this great mysterious world. In absolute silence sleeps an absolute power. Awaking, it can wake the trance-bound soul, and in the ray reveal the parent sun. It can make the world a vessel of spirit's force. It can fashion in the clay God's perfect shape. To free the self is but one radiant pace. Here to fulfill himself was God's desire.